Hi, I'm Justin, and welcome to Strat-o-Matic Baseball for the PC. Strat-o-Matic Baseball is one of my favorite games of all time. I played it in person with my friends. We also play it online and have the computer simulate games for us on the Strat-o-Matic 365 website. But here we have the PC version, and I'm going to be playing through an entire season as an MLB team. And what season am I going to be playing through? I'm going to go back to the season that really kickstarted my obsession with baseball. I'm going back to the 1998 season. This is one of the best baseball seasons of all time. You had the home run race between Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, and Ken Griffey Jr. We all remember Mark McGwire hit 70 dingers that year, followed very closely by Sosa, who hit 66, and Ken Griffey Jr. also blasted 57 as well. It was just an incredible summer. I remember watching SportsCenter practically every morning, waiting to see the highlights of my favorite sluggers launching bombs from the night before. A lot of very core childhood memories from that summer. I'm also a New York Yankees fan. I know, I can hear you shouting at me already. Look, 1998 was the best season you could ask for from your favorite team. I was 9 years old, so I grew up watching Derek Jeter, Andy Pettitte, Bernie Williams, Mariano Rivera, just a stacked team. In the late 90s, David Cohn, David Wells on the pitching staff. Just an endless amount of talent. And yeah, I grew up very spoiled by their success. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, well, if you're a Yankees fan, I guess you're going to be playing through the 1998 Yankees season. And you would be wrong. I am actually going for the other New York team that season. The 1998 Mets didn't make the playoffs. They often don't get remembered, but they had a very respectable season. If we pull up Baseball Reference for the 1998 standings, you can see the Braves won the division with 106 wins. Fantastic. The Astros won the Central, 102 wins. They traded for Randy Johnson at the trade deadline. He was phenomenal for them. The Padres, of course, won the National League pennant, got swept in the World Series. And the Giants and Cubs played a tie-breaking 163rd game to determine the wild card, and the Cubs won that game. But where are the Mets? The Mets are at 88 and 74, basically a game out of contention for the wild card. So where did it all go wrong? Well, you can see here that on Sunday, September 20th, they shut out the Marlins 5-0. It brought their record to a very nice 88 and 69 record, and they were looking good. Things seemed fine. They had to play 2 games against the lowly Expos, lost both of them. And then they go to Atlanta, to the home of the division champions and their constant rival, and they get swept. They don't get another win that season, and they miss the playoffs by 1 stinking game. But we're going to try and get some revenge for them. Because the funny thing about the 1998 Mets is they missed the playoffs by 1 game, and they didn't even have one of their best players until 45 games into the season. Mike Piazza, we all remember, started the season with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Very briefly was traded to the Marlins, and the Marlins quickly dished him off to the Mets. And the marvelous thing about Strat-o-Matic Baseball is that the card sets are based off the end-of-year roster. meaning that we can play the 1998 New York Mets season as if Mike Piazza were on the roster from day one. And Mike Piazza wasn't the only good player those Mets had. Look at John Olerud's season. Nearly an 8-win season. He batted .354, had an OPS just shy of 1,000. A tremendous season. One of the best first basemen in the game in the late 90s. Edgardo Alfonso was on this team as well. He would be one of the core members of this team throughout the late 90s, early 2000s, and be an essential part of the puzzle for when this team eventually did make the World Series in 2000. Brian McRae had a decent year in center field, an OPS plus of 116. He was a solid defender, hit 20 home runs, and then you get to the pitching staff. Al Leiter, a 6.7 win season, an earned run average of 2.47 in the middle of the steroid era. 4 complete games, 2 shutouts. This man was money that year. And you also have some other competent starting pitchers. Rick Reed, 16-11 with a .348 ERA, a 4.5 win season. Bobby Jones and Masato Yoshii also put up respectable efforts. Hideo Nomo came over to this team in the middle of the year. Didn't pitch tremendously great, but serviceable. And then we get to the bullpen, which, yeah, that was probably the weakest point of this team. John Franco, their usually dependable closer, did not have a good season. His ERA was 3.62, 0-8. He saved 38 games, but I'm guessing that he had a couple of rough outings late in games that were not save situations that really cost the Mets. Turk Wendell was a serviceable middleman. Dennis Cook could set up games. Mel Rojas, Greg McMichael, and Willie Blair all tried their best to get outs when needed to, with varying degrees of success, but for the most part, were just slightly below replacement level. So that's going to be a challenge we're going to have to face in this playthrough. But there's a couple of things that go in our favor. We have about 30 years of analytical insight onto how to optimize both a lineup and a pitching staff, and I think we can implement some sabermetric strategies to help get a little bit more out of this team and see if we can get them into the playoffs. So welcome to the lineup selection screen. On the right, we have the New York Mets, and on the left, we have the Philadelphia Phillies. The Mets started the 1998 season with a 2-game series against the Phillies at home. So looking at the Phillies lineup, we can see some familiar faces. Doug Glanville, Scott Rowland, Mike Lieberthal, Bobby Abreu. Why is he batting 7th? You gotta get that guy up higher in the lineup. Kurt Schilling, the ace of this team. The 98 Phillies had some pretty good players on it. And here we have our team. Right now, the computer thinks that it would be best if we bat Edgardo Alfonso 2nd, John Olerud 3rd, and Mike Piazza 4th. It also thinks that Lenny Harris should be a starter. I disagree with that. So firstly, I think we put John Olerud in the 2-hole and Piazza up to 3rd. This will hopefully help our 2 best hitters get a few extra at-bats. I've also plugged in Tony Phillips in for Lenny Harris, and I'm going to bat Phillips 5th. Now there is a downside to this. Tony Phillips, he's not the best defender, but his hitter's card is rather good. So it's a trade-off we're going to have to make. So welcome to Shea Stadium in 1998, kind of. This is supposed to take place in 1998, but as you can tell, we have Citi Field being built in the background there, so not the most accurate picture for the time. So in case you're wondering how Strat-o-Matic works, here's a quick rundown. We have two cards down at the bottom of the screen here. On the left side, we have the hitter's card, and on the right side, we have the pitcher's card. This magical button in the center is going to roll 3 dice. The white die is going to tell us which card we read down. If it's a 1, 2, or 3, we read off the hitter's card, and if it's a 4, 5, or 6, we read off the pitcher's card. The 2 red dice are going to tell us which result in that respective column that we're going to read. So if we were to roll a 1, 7, we would have a pop-up to the shortstop. If we were to roll a 5, 5, we would get a strikeout. There are some results that require an additional dice roll. If we were to roll a 3, 8, what we would do is we would roll a 20-sided die, and if the result of that roll lands between 1 and 10, it would be a home run. If it lands above 10, it would be a fly ball. The letters next to the ground ball and fly ball results tell us what type of ground ball or fly ball it is. Ground ball A is a sharply hit ground ball that, if there are runners forced, is a double play. A ground ball B means you get a fielder's choice if there are runners on, and a ground ball C means it's a softly hit ground ball, and if any runners are on base, they can move up. Fly balls work the opposite way. In that case, a fly ball A is a deep fly ball where all runners automatically advance. Fly ball B means it's a mediumly hit fly ball where you can try and score a run from third if there's a runner on base, and a fly ball C is a shallow fly ball where no runners can move up at all. So we have our hitter, Doug Glanville, and we have our pitcher, Al Leiter. What we're going to do is hit this magical button, and we're going to get our first result. It's a 3-11, so it's a single 1 through 5, but the supplemental dice roll is a 16, and so it's just a line out. And the game progresses like this. So now is Kevin Sefcik. Rolls a 6-9, and he strikes out. So now it's Scott Rowland, the 1997 NL Rookie of the Year. Rolls a 4-4, and he's going to get a base hit on the supplemental roll. So now it's Lieberthal to bat. And if you look at the bottom left corner of the screen, you can see the computer tried to do something in the background. It basically tried to get a good lead with Scott Rowland to perhaps steal second base. And we'll take a look at the base running and explain this really quickly. You roll a 2d6. If the roll lands either 2 through 5 or a 10, he gets a good lead. There's nothing on the other side of that slash mark. If there were a number on that side of the slash mark, and the computer rolled that number, they would get picked off. You don't want to have any numbers on the right side of the slash mark if you're trying to steal a base. The numbers inside the parentheses give us a general idea of what is needed for the runner to steal second base. The first number is if they have a good lead. The second number is if they have a bad lead. This first number tells us that if the runner gets a good lead and we try to steal second base, we would need to roll between a 1 and 15 for him to be safe. Kind of. I'll explain more in a second. The second number tells us what that roll is needed if he doesn't get a good lead. Of course, more goes into stolen bases than just a player's speed. We can see this little -1 next to Al Leiter tells us that he's a little bit better than average at holding base runners on, and this +2 next to Piazza tells us that he's a bit worse than average at throwing out base runners. So these two numbers combine to make a +1. Let's go back to Rowland's card now. If he had a good lead, it now doesn't take a roll between 1 and 15 for him to be safe. It would take a roll between 1 and 16. His odds just went up by 5%. And even if he gets a bad lead, this 1 through 11 roll now becomes a 1 through 12 roll. So you still have a 60% chance of stealing the base. So Rowland did not get a good lead, and we're going to roll for the result. Single 1 through 5, fly out otherwise, and that ends the inning. Now here's McRae, and we get a 3-9, and the first batter of the Mets season goes down swinging. Now here's Olerud. Rolls a 1-8, and this is going to be a single. So 1 on for Piazza. We are not going to try to steal second base at all. Olerud is one of the worst base runners in the game. And now it's Mike Piazza's time to shine. The roll, we get a 5-11, and now we get to explain how defense works. Every defensive player in the game has 2 ratings. One is a range rating, which basically tells you how likely they are to get to a ball hit to them. And the other is an E rating, which is the likelihood of them making an error. The game's going to do 2 things in the background. First of all, it's going to roll a 20-sided die. We have a list of outcomes here. If it's a 1 or 2, it becomes a single. Everything else on here is a ground ball. The computer is then going to roll 3 6-sided dice to get us a number between 3 and 18. This will tell us if there is an error on the play. You can have plays that result in both a single and an error. So we're going to hit this button and see what comes up. The first roll is a ground ball, and we get a rare play, so this could be anything. This is a really rare roll. And it's a double play in this case. The little play-by-play box in the left-hand corner tells us that Olerud had an illegal slide, and because of that, there's a double play. Phenomenal stuff here in the very first inning of this playthrough. So we go back to the Phillies, and here's Rico Brogna to lead off. Rolls a 4-6, this is just going to be a ground ball. Mark Lewis now to bat. A 6-9, that's going to strike him out. Second strikeout of the afternoon for Leiter, and now here's Bobby Abreu. Rolls a 4-9, and this is going to test the defense of Ray Ordonez, who is one of the best defenders in the game. A range of 1 is the best you can have, and E19 is good enough for a shortstop, I would say. You can see that there's no chance of this being a hit. The only thing we have to worry about is maybe there's an error on the play, but it's not all that likely. And we get another rare play result, which is really, really rare to have them back-to-back, but with nobody on base, this is usually just an out. So a 1-2-3 inning, and now it's back to Edgar Alfonso. Rolls a 5-8, this is going to test Lewis at second. He's a 3E19. Let's see what happens here. It's going to be a ground ball, and no errors and no rare plays. Thankfully, at least there's nothing crazy going on there. And now it's Phillips. The roll here is a 3-8, and this is just going to be a ground ball to the shortstop. 2 down. Baerga to bat with 2 away. Rolls a 3-7, and this is going to be a fly ball to the center fielder to end the inning. So now Desi Relaford batting 8th. And with the pitcher spot on deck, rolls a 2-5 triple 1 through 6 single otherwise, and a leadoff single for the Phillies shortstop. Relaford's not a threat to run, but he does try to get a good lead. I think we're just gonna have a bunt here from Schilling. So let's hit this button. And set the infield in to guard against the bunt. And they are going to try to steal with Relaford. They have an 80% chance of getting in there. Let's throw for the hell of it. And yeah, unfortunately, he is safe. So we're just going to adjust to have the corners play in. And let's see if we get another bunt here. He missed the first attempt, but the second time he gets the job done. The sacrifice is successful, and Relaford moves to third. 1 out for Granville. Rolls a 2-6. This is going to be a ground ball B. We have a chance to get the runner out at the plate. A 55% chance. I think we're just going to get the sure out at first. Especially with it only being the 3rd inning. I think we can get a run back. You absolutely, in that case, could have tried to get the run at home. I think it's just a little bit more safe for us to get the shore out, especially with the heart of the order coming up. Here's Sefcik. 5-7, single 1 through 12, but he rolls a 14, and that'll be out number 3. Back to Allensworth. 4-7's gonna strike him out. Kurt Schilling off to a fast start. His second strikeout. Now it's Ordonez. Rolls a 6-6. Double 1 through 6. This is a 2. And our light-hitting shortstop, Ray Ordonez, has a 1-out double. That'll bring up Leiter, and I think we just bunt him over. 72% chance that this is a successful bunt. Let's look at the bottom left. Oh, he fouled it off. We're going to stay with the bunt. What's the worst that can happen? We strike out? Probably going to strike out anyway, and we get the sacrifice down. This is a clutch at-bat, the game has determined, and I think we need a brief explanation for that. If we look at Brian McRae's card, we can see that the 2-2 and the 2-5 results, which are normally singles, have a little $sign next to them. That means that in clutch moments, these results that normally are singles revert to pop-outs. So a 2-2 wouldn't be a base hit, it would just be a pop-out to the second baseman. Same thing with a 2-5. It's an attempt, but not perfect attempt, for the game to simulate players who are good in clutch moments. I think it's probably the best you can do in a game for card and dice. So let's see if McRae can come up here with a big hit. No, the clutch factor does come into play, and he pops out. That is brutal. 1-0 Phillies in the 4th. Here's Roland. 1-for-1 on the day. We're going to test Baerga, our second baseman. Should be a softly hit ground ball with an error. Oh, brother. A couple of back-to-back really unfortunate rolls for us. And instead of there being 1 out and nobody on, we have to deal with Lieberthal up. And the roll here. 6-8's gonna strike him out though. Rico Bronya now. On a 1-7's gonna fly him out to center field. Now it's Mark Lewis. Rolling again, trying to get a good lead. Don't think he was able to do it. And now we get a really great roll here. A 2-8. That's gonna end the inning. Our shortstop makes the play, and we go to the home half of the 4th. Here's Olerud, he's 1-for-1. Rolls a 4-7 and strikes out. Third strikeout for Schilling. Now Piazza, who's 0-for-1, rolls a 2-2 and hits a fly ball to center field, 2 away. Now Alfonso, who's 0-for-1, rolls a 5-6 strikeout. Kurt Schilling dominating early on. Now it's Bobby Abreu up. A 3-12, this is going to be a ground ball A plus injury. And Bobby Abreu unfortunately does get injured on the play, and he's out for the next 3 days. Yeah, there are certain results where the computer will roll a 20-sided die in the background and see if the player is injured. This roll happens off-screen in the game, but over the board it happens for everyone to see. Unfortunately, we don't get to see what exactly happened. But Relaford is up, he's 1-for-1 with a run scored. Single 1 through 3, and that's his second hit of the game. So with 1 out, I'm expecting another bunt. Gonna bring the infield in again, and Relaford gonna try and steal again. They throw down, and he is safe. So, Desi Relaford with a couple of stolen bases. Gonna bring the infield in again. Rolls a 4-3, and this is gonna test our right fielder, Tony Phillips, who is not great defensively. A 4 is the second worst range number you can have. And you can see there's over a 50% chance of this being a single, and the 2 next to this tells us how many bases the runner automatically moves up. So anything with a single 2 next to it means that Relaford scores, and there's nothing we can do about it. Need to get a little lucky, and we get incredibly unlucky. A 5% chance of it being a triple, and our right fielder gives up a triple to the pitcher, Curt Schilling. Not the best start for the 98 Mets, now down 2-0. Runner on third for Glanville. Rolls a 3-7 ground ball back to Leiter. And yeah, Schilling has no chance of even trying to score on that play. Now Sefcik. 6-7 is going to walk him. Now Roland, who's 1 for 2. This is a big moment in this game. Let's see if the Phillies can find a way to... Oh, they're going to try and steal with their best hitter up and 2 outs with runners on base. I know it's a 70% chance for them to be safe, but this looks dangerous. Yeah, that's not the best time to steal a base. So now Phillips will lead off, looking to atone for his bad defense. And that's a good start. He's going to draw a leadoff walk. Mets down 2-0. They need something to happen here. And Carlos Baerga is not going to oblige. He hits a ground ball right to the first baseman. That's going to be a 3-6-3 DP. And there's 2 down for Allensworth. 2-8, it's going to be a fly ball, and that'll end the inning. So Scott Rowland back up. He doesn't have any runners on base this time, and now is just going to hit a ground ball to the shortstop. And Roy Ordonez makes an error. So 2 errors made by the Mets today. They've also had a poor play in the outfield by Tony Phillips. And Al Leiter getting up near his pitch count limit. Once he gets past 115 pitches, what's going to happen is these results with the @ symbol next to them are going to start becoming more frequent, and these results are also going to start changing to results that'll favor the hitter. So now Lieberthal with a runner on. Let's see if they send Roland again. No, they don't send them, and we get a ground ball to Baerga. He was technically guarding against the stolen base, which is why his range drops to a 4. And you can see that he gives up a single. I think we're going to leave Al Leiter in until he gets to 115 pitches. Hopefully he can get out of this inning. This is a close call. It's a home run 1 through 13. But unfortunately for the Phillies, it was a 17. They rolled a supplemental roll to see if Roland can move up to third, and it was within his base running range. So Roland moves to third, first and third with 1 out for Lewis. And let's keep rolling with Leiter. And we get a wild pitch. What the game does basically is in the background on every play with runners on base. It does roll a 20-sided die, and in that case, we just ran into some bad luck that leads to a wild pitch. So it's 3-0 Phillies. They have a runner in scoring position for Lewis. We're going to roll the dice, and we're going to get a ground ball to third. 2 down, and we'll have Ruben Amaro pinch hit for Bobby Abreu, who was injured earlier in the game. Rolls a 1-5, that's going to strike him out. The inning's over. Phillies get another run, though. It's 3-0. So we have Ray Ordonez up to lead off the inning. He's 1 for 1 with a double. And we get a 6-10 roll that's going to test Doug Glanville. And of course, naturally, because the game just absolutely hates us right now, the Phillies have no problem making a defensive play. Now, Al Leiter is up, but he is definitely not going to bat here. We get a 2-9 roll, and the pinch hitter does not come through. So now is Brian McRae. Rolls a 4-6, and he's going to strike out. That's the 5th strikeout for Schilling. And now we need to go to the bullpen, and we're going to bring in Turk Wendell. I think Wendell can give us 2 innings. You can see here, he can throw about 33 pitches before getting fatigued. He's going to have to get out the red-hot Desi Relaford, who's 2 for 2 and scored twice. A 2-6 is going to pop him up. 1 away. Now Schilling to bat. Let's see if they keep him in. They do. And we're going to strike him out. So 2 away. Now Glanville. This is going to test our third baseman, Alfonso. He's a 2-11. That's fairly solid for a third baseman. Should be no issues with this. Yep, he makes the play. It's about time. It's about time. We got one of those rolls to go our way. After the 2 errors, after the triple given up by our bloody right fielder. Bottom of the 7th. Here's John Olerud. We desperately need a rally. And we're not going to get it here. That's just going to be a flyout. Now Piazza, let's see if he can get something going. No, he's going to strike out. Mets have just 2 hits on the afternoon, and they have as many errors as they have hits. Alfonso, please, anything? No, he's just going to pop this out to the shortstop. Oh, brother. It's one of those games. It's one of those games. It happens. It's not great it happens the first game of the year, as F6 going to fly this out. But hey, it's a marathon. It's a 162 game marathon. Here's Roland. Double 1 through 13, fly out otherwise. It's going to be a fly out. Now Lieberthal. Rolls a 5-7, that's going to be a fly out as well. So Turk Wendell, 2 scoreless innings in relief. Phillips is going to lead off the inning for the Mets. He walked his last time up, and he's going to test Desi Relaford. 2E30. This is a good but not great defensive card, but he makes the play. Yeah, so I guess only the Mets are allowed to make errors today. Everyone else can go about their business, field their position like they should, but the Mets just get all the bad rolls. So now Baerga with 1 away, a 2-8's gonna be another ground out. Curt Schilling has come into New York and just shut everyone up at Shea Stadium. Oh, we do get a little bit lucky here. Desi Relaford can't make that play, and we get a 2-out single. And with 2 outs, I do think we do need a bit more punch at the plate. We're going to bring in Matt Franco to pinch hit. Let's see if we get a good roll here. We're going to test Ruben Amaro, who's a 3 out in right field. Definitely not a gimme out. But unless he makes an error, we're not going to come up with anything. Now here's Rico Brogna. A 1-7's going to fly him out. 1 down for Lewis. Rolls a 3-6, that's going to ground him out. And now Amaro. On a 6-4 to our center fielder, he's going to make the play. So we have the pitcher spot up, and we are kind of in a bind right here. We really don't have any good pinch hitters available. The best we have is Todd Hundley, and this card is just strikeout central. I'm going to go with Todd Hundley because at least we have the left-handed bat up. Let's see if we can get a little bit lucky here. 6-8, that's going to walk him. And the leadoff man is on for the Mets here in the 9th, needing to score 3 runs to tie this game. Now it's McRae. Hundley can't run at all. But we get a wild pitch, and we have a runner in scoring position. Well, if we can't win the game, let's not get shut out, at the very least. The pitch to McRae. A 3-11's going to be a ground ball C. This gets Hundley over to third, which would be useful if we were either down a run or if Hundley could run better than he can. 1 out for Olerud. Piazza is on deck if we can get the tying run up. Rolls a 5-5 and Olerud strikes out. Number 7 on the afternoon for Schilling. Now the biggest moment of the game. This could end it for the Phillies. Rolls a 3-5, bouncing ball to Relaford, and that'll do it. The Mets lose 3-0 in Game 1 of our replay. And at the end of every game, they give you a nice little box score. You can see that because Strat-o-Matic doesn't have the rights for the MLB franchise names, they give them these nice little nicknames instead. The cheesesteaks for the Phillies is one of my favorites in the game. The Mets actually have a nice one. Amazins is a good nickname for the Mets. I don't know any team that would willingly call themselves the cheesesteaks. But that's the universe we live in. Curt Schilling, 9 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, 7 strikeouts, just a chef's kiss of a game. Al Leiter didn't pitch bad himself. 6 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, but only 2 were earned, 4 strikeouts. A disappointing start overall for these Mets, but let's see if we can take Game 2. So over to Game 2, we're going to roll with the same lineup as we had in Game 1, and our starting pitcher is going to be Rick Reed. Now you can't tell because his name is YY, but this is Rick Reed. And one of the stipulations in the agreement between the Players Association and MLB was that replacement players could not have their name, image, or likeness represented in any commemorative merchandise or video games, and Strat-o-Matic fell into that, both for the PC version and the card game itself. But comparing his stats to his baseball reference page, we can tell that this is Rick Reed. The Phillies are going to throw out Tyler Green, who I can't remember at all from my childhood, but here are his stats from that season. 6-12, a 5.03 ERA. I like our chances in this game. And so welcome to Shea Stadium at nighttime now, and you think that might not make a difference, but it actually does. If we look to the bottom right of the stadium picture, it has this little chart of results that are affected by a few things. What time of day it is, what time of year it is, and if the weather is good or bad. Before the game starts, the computer rolls a 20-sided die to determine what the weather is. We obviously already know what time of year it is. It's currently April in our playthrough, and it's a night game, so given all those factors, we can see that it affects how home runs and singles get hit. Basically what that means is all these results with the yellow text on the cards are impacted by the weather and the time of year and the stadium. So for example, if we were to roll a 6-2, it says single 1 through 3, fly ball otherwise. And the reason why that is normally on Rick Reed's card, this is a home run effect. And you might be thinking, well, why is it saying that it would be a single instead of a home run? And that's because our hitter currently, Doug Glanville, is categorized as weak. And what that means is if you're categorized as weak, any result on the pitcher's card that would result in a home run instead becomes a single with 2 stars, which means if there are any base runners, they advance 2 bases. So after all of that explaining, let's get this game started. And our first pitch, it's going to be a double 1 through 2, single otherwise, and a good start for the Phillies. Let's see if they try to run with Glanville. They did try to get a good lead, but Rick Reed luckily is a -4, holding runners on. So here's the pitch. Single into right field. We are never going to catch Glanville. Going to third, we'll hold up right there. First and third for the Phillies. Now rolling. This could be a ground ball C. A run will score and Sefcik will move to second. So the Phillies take an early 1-0 lead, and here's Rico Bronya. 4-3 is going to be a fly ball out to left field for out number 2. Now here's Lieberthal, the chance to drive in another run, but he's going to strike out. First strikeout for Reed, and we go to the bottom of the first. Here's Brian McRae. 2-12 is going to fly him out. Now Olerud to bat, he rolls a 4-9. Oh no, we got robbed of a single. That should have been a single 1 through 17, but just an absolutely pathetic dice roll. Now Piazza with no one on, he'll draw a 2-out walk, good for him. Finally, we have a base runner. Alfonso to bat, Piazza of course not the fastest runner in the world, but it doesn't matter. This is going to be a ground out, and the inning will end. Here's Zuber getting the start for the injured Bobby Abreu, and this is going to be a ground ball to Alfonso. No memes on this result, it's just going to be a ground out. I think that's one of the few times that we've had a defensive rule go our way. Thank goodness. Home run 1 through 3, this is one of those ballpark effects. But as you can see, he rolls a 17, and it's just going to be a fly out instead. Desi Relaford punished us a couple of times in Game 1. He's going to test Allensworth. And 1, 2, 3 go the Phillies. Tony Phillips will lead off here in the second, and he's going to strike out. Mets continue to struggle against the Phillies pitching, even the pretty dreadful Tyler Green. Baerga to bat. A 6-9. Double 1 through 17, single otherwise. That'll do. Now our first hit of the game, now it's Allensworth. The 6-8 gonna strike him out. 2 away for Ray Ordonez, would love to have him get on base, that way the pitcher doesn't have to lead off the next inning. 3-7, and again, we get a terrible dice roll. An over 75% chance of that being a single, but he makes it out instead. This is just a terribly unlucky start for us, wow. Tyler Green to bat, and he rolls a 3-8, gonna ground him out. Back to the top of the order for Glanville, who is 1 for 1 with a run, and he's gonna fly this one out. 2 down for Sefcik, and he'll get a 2-out walk. Now it's Roland, who's 0 for 1 with an RBI ground out. Looks like they're trying to get a good lead for Sefcik, but it didn't work. And Roland is gonna line a single into right field. They are gonna try and get to third. Got an 85% chance of him being safe, so we're just gonna hold up. Now it's Rico Bronya, chance to do some damage. 4-7's gonna strike him out though, and we get out of it. Thank goodness for that. We need to hold the Phillies to as few runs as possible given the current state of our offense. Rick Reed to lead off. Very bad card and a very bad result. Line out Max. Luckily the Max is 1. If there were any runners on base, doesn't matter how many, that would be a double or even a triple play if the criteria were met. Now it's McRae. Green's only thrown less than 30 pitches, and he's gonna get an out here. 2 down for Olerud, who's 0 for 1, and he'll draw a walk. So we've had 3 base runners, but they've all come with 2 outs. So we really haven't been able to string together anything. Let's see if Piazza can do something. 2-7, that's gonna double him. Olerud might have a chance to score, but he's a terrible base runner. But still, a 55% chance to score. I think we have to do it, especially with 2 outs. Why not try it? We will send Piazza the trailing runner as well. Oh, and we just roll again horribly. The game's out to get us. The game might be rigged right now. I think currently the game is rigged against us. So many bad dice roll the first 2 games. Lieberthal is gonna single, cause why not? Now Zuber to bat. And we get a really good roll there. That's gonna be a ground ball, double play, and we will get 2 quick outs for Lewis. 6-3 is going to test Rick Reed, who is decent defensively. This should be an out. No memes on the error roll, thank goodness. Bottom of the 4th, it's Alfonso to bat. And we get a leadoff walk. We have a base runner with less than 2 outs. Is this real life? Are we dreaming? Are we dreaming? It's Tony Phillips now. Single 1 through 7 line out otherwise. Unfortunate. Now it's Baerga to bat. Alfonso's still on first, and oh brother. Ground ball right to Rico Bronya for a double play. I'm not gonna lie, this sucks right now. We've yet to score a run. We're now 13 innings into the season. The 1-5 roll is gonna get Relaford out. Now Green, the pitcher. 4-6 can be a strikeout, the 3rd one of the game for Reed. Now we use Glanville. The pitch to him. It's going to test Rick Reed again, who we just saw made a good play. And I think we're going to have another good play. Yep. So now Allensworth in the bottom of the 5th, and that's going to be a flyout. 1 down for Ray Ordonez. A 2-6 is going to ground him out. Now Rick Reed to bat, we're going to keep rolling with him, and this is actually going to test the center fielder Glanville. There's a 15% chance this hits, but unless there's an error, this is going to be an out, and that's indeed what happens. To the 6th, and here's Sefcik, 1 for 1 with a walk, is going to ground out right here. Now Roland, he's the reason the Phillies lead it 1-0. but this time he's just gonna fly out. 2 down for Rico Brogna. And that's a strikeout, the 4th one for Rick Reed. 6 very strong innings of work for our starting pitcher, Brian McRae, to lead it off. A 2-8's not gonna cut it, that's a lineout. Now Olerud, who walked in his last at-bat. 4-3 is gonna test the very solid third baseman Scott Rowland. You can see unless we get an error, this is just gonna be an out. And we get lucky, there's an error made by the sure-handed Scott Rowland, one of the best defensive third basemen of our time, makes a big error and gives Mike Piazza a chance to bat. Piazza doubled in his last at-bat and we had Olerud thrown out at the plate. Let's see if we can get a better result this time. That's a single. Olerud will get to second and... oh, it was with 2 stars. He gets all the way to third. So first and third for Alfonso. And this is our best chance of the game. We just need a fly ball to tie the game. Let's hope we get it. 5-9. Home run 1 through 18. Double otherwise. And we are going to tie the game. And we could perhaps take the lead. Oh, no, we cannot. No, absolutely not. That would just be a terrible decision. 35% chance of making it safely. With 1 out, we are definitely going to hold the runner at third. So now Phillips with a chance to give the Mets a lead in this 1-1 ball game. 1-8 walks. Perfectly set up. Bases juiced. Carlos Baerga coming up. Let's see if they stick with Green, who's at 105 pitches. He's over his capacity. He now will start to get fatigued. And yep, here comes Mark Leiter. Mark Leiter, of course, the father of Mark Leiter Jr., who was recently non-tendered by the Yankees. And, of course, he's the brother of Al Leiter as well, and the uncle of Rangers pitcher Jack Leiter. So here's Carlos Baerga to bat. A 1-7 single into left field. This should get 2 runs in, and the Mets have the first lead of the season. It's now 3-1. A huge 6th inning for us. There we go. This is what we expected more often than not. Solid offense. Big bats coming alive when we need them to. And now we are in command of this game. Allensworth will strike out for the 2nd out. Now it's Ray Ordonez to bat. 2-7's gonna ground him out, and that'll end the inning. We're going to stick with Rick Reed for the 7th inning. He's at 89 pitches. He can throw about 100 before getting fatigued. And he is leading off the next inning, so we don't want to make any substitutions before we get to the pitcher's spot in the lineup. 5-11's going to be a fly ball to Allensworth. No errors on the play, and that's just going to be out number 1. Now here's Zuber to bat, and he's going to hit a fly out to McRae. 2 down for Mark Lewis. 6-10, single 1 through 4, but a line out otherwise. That'll end the inning. 7 very good innings of pitching by Rick Reed, and we lead it 3-1 going to the bottom of the 7th. Rick Reed is supposed to lead off, but I think we will take him out and get a pinch hitter in there. So Matt Franco will pinch hit for Rick Reed, who gave us 7 very good innings. That's a single 1 through 13 line out otherwise, and there's 1 away. Now here's McRae to bat. A 1-3. Again, I think single 1 through 13, or single 1 through 3 line out otherwise. And there's 2 away, so a couple of very bad supplemental dice roll there. And now here's Olerud. On a 5-7's gonna hit a ground ball to Lewis. Lewis isn't the best, but isn't the worst at second. Chance for an error. Yes, we get an error. So the Phillies defense has let them down twice tonight. A pair of errors for them. And we'll bring up Piazza, who's 2 for 2 with a double. Singled in his last at bat, and is going to ground out to the pitcher here. So Dennis Cook comes into the game, and there was a day off in between games 1 and 2, so that's why I'm not afraid to use Cook in back-to-back games, because technically there was a day off in between them. Here's Relaford to bat, and the pitch. 5-3, this is going to test Alfonso. Let's hope for no memes right here. Should be a ground out, and it is a ground out. Wendell McGee will pinch hit for the pitcher, and he's not going to pinch hit well. He strikes out. Now back to Glanville. A 1-5 is going to be a single into left field. See if they try and steal with Glanville. A little risky down 2 runs, but Phillies need some way of getting some offense going. And indeed, they do try and steal. 65% chance of making it. We're obviously going to throw down, and unfortunately, didn't get the roll. So Sefcik with a chance to get the Phillies a bit closer if he can get a 2-out hit. Big moment here in this game in the 8th inning. Oh no, double 1 through 16. And we roll a 6, and that's going to bring the Phillies to within 1. It's now 3-2, and it's time to hold our breath. We have Rico Brogna on deck. Let's take a look at his card against lefties. It's decent, but not great. Certainly a lot worse than Roland's card. Roland crushes lefties, so I think we just do the safe thing and put Roland on base. Now I know what you're thinking. Why are you putting the winning run or go-ahead run on base? I just have a feeling this is one of those gut moves that would no longer be accepted in Major League Baseball, but I feel like this is the correct move to make. Brogna, a 6-9 is going to test our shortstop, who's normally good. And look at that, we get out of the inning. So we now lead it 3-2. It's Alfonso to lead off. He had the double in our big 6th inning, and he's going to have a single right here. Tony Phillips now to bat. Phillips gets a base hit. A single sends Alfonso to third. And you might have noticed in the corner, it says on a 6-9 roll, that should be a home run 1 through 4. But again, we have to look at the card for Tony Phillips. He is weak against righties, and so that's why it becomes a single with 2 stars. Now it's Baerga to bat. 5-7, double 1 through 8, and Carlos Baerga is gonna get the job done. This is gonna split the outfielders. We're gonna get at least 1 run in. Phillips will get to third. We won't have the chance to score him, but we do get the run back. We're now up 4-2 in this game. Now it's Allensworth. 2-10 is going to foul him out, and that's out number 1. So the Phillies do have the infield in. I was thinking about bunting with Ray Ordonez, but I don't think I will now that the infield is in. It's a little bit difficult to tell in the computer game, but on the physical cards themselves, when the infield is in, the pitcher will have certain results on their card with a little plus sign next to them, and that basically means if the infield is in, instead of it being a ground ball, it becomes a base hit with 2 stars instead. So if there is a weak ground ball, there is a better chance for the Phillies to prevent a run, but if there's a sharply hit ground ball, it becomes a lot more difficult for them to make the play. So let's swing away with Ordonez, and we get a... we almost got a 3-run home run from our light-hitting shortstop. Instead, we get a sacrifice fly. We just missed the home run. The runner on third is going to score. We do have a chance of getting to third base as well. We're going to try to advance them. Because basically what the game is doing right now is our base runner is going to try to tag. We have a 75% chance of being safe. If we roll a 6 through 19, they're going to go back to second base. They determine that it's just not worth it. The outfielder got a really good throw off, and it's probably not the best idea to go. We only have a 5% chance of being thrown out. So it just makes a whole lot of sense to try and get to third base right here. And he gets back to second base. Unfortunate roll for us, but at least we didn't get thrown out. So 2 away for Cook, and yeah, we're going to go to the bench again. Okay, Lenny Harris up to the bat, and let's see what he does here. A 3-9, we get another godforsaken clutch result that's going to pop him out. John Franco out onto the mound with a 3-run lead. Let's hope this is just an easy, relaxing 9th inning, and that's going to be out number 1. Now it's Zuber. He's going to strike out, and we're 2 away in the 9th, looking for our first win of the season. Now Lewis to bat, 2 outs. He's the last hope for the Phillies, and he strikes out, and the Mets win the ball game. A very nice come-from-behind win for the New York Mets as they take it 5-2. A very nice come-from-behind win for the New York Mets as they take it 5-2. Offense had a really solid night. It took a while for them to get started, but 3 in the 6th and 2 more in the 8th is the difference. A very good start for Rick Reed, who went 7 innings, giving up just 1 run. Bullpen was very solid as well, and Carlos Baerga picks up 3 hits and 3 RBIs, including the double in the 8th inning that really burst it open. So that's going to do it for this episode. We split the series with the Phillies and go to 1-1 on the season, and up next, a 4-game series at home against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this, please be sure to hit the like button. If you want to find out what happens next, please subscribe. I would appreciate it immensely. It would mean a whole lot to me. This is the beginning of a long journey throughout this 1998 season replay, and I would be honored if you would join me for every step of the way. Until next time, forth and fear no darkness.